This is the Flabbergasted podcast, where we just can't believe you haven't seen it. Every episode, we discuss a movie that one of us has seen and the other hasn't. Follow us on Instagram @FlabberPod and subscribe in your podcast app of choice. I'm your host, Jessica. Let's get to it. Okay, so today we are discussing the Kingsman. Nope, my bad. Kingsman, the Secret Service.
Kingsman, Kingman, singular.
Nope, it's with an S.
Kingsman?
Kingsman.
I've heard it both ways.
The Secret Service.
Taron Egerton.
This is the companion episode to Django Unchained with Samuel L. Jackson. This movie came out in 2014.
Two classic Samuel L. Jackson roles. One where he has a lisp and one where he's playing like a somehow super anti-black racist house slave.
This came out in 2014 and is an action-adventure comedy thriller.
What's it rated on Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't have that.
I just asked you one data point that you don't have.
Yeah. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Oh, wait. It's Kingsman plural. Okay. I've been operating under the assumption that it was singular. 75%.
75%.
Certified fresh.
By the way, this is rated R, so FYI.
Content warning.
Okay. A spy organization recruits a promising street kid into the agency's training program while a global threat emerges from a twisted tech genius.
Okay. I'm trying to decide if I have issues with that already. I don't know if I agree with some of those assertions.
What do you disagree with?
I wouldn't say that the agency was actively recruiting this kid, or even that he was necessarily particularly promised. I mean, I guess he did show promise. It was sort of Colin Firth sticking his neck out for him.
He was definitely recruited.
He was sort of told he was doing it.
I mean, they waited until he didn't. The organization waited until Eggsy didn't give him up to offer him a position.
Oh, at the very end?
At the very beginning.
With the train?
To offer him the opportunity to train.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So he called in his favor. I mean, we're getting way ahead here, but he called in his favor and then chatted with Colin Firth and then got the call to be recruited. I
can tell you right now, all of the adult British men in this movie might as well be Colin Firth. I can't tell the difference between them. Were any of them Henry Cavill? I don't think so. But I wouldn't also tell you for sure they weren't.
Wait, Henry Cavill's not in this movie.
You could have told me he was. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, just checking.
They kind of all look. I looked it up. I was like, is Colin Firth Henry Cavill?
No.
No, I understand that he's not.
Oh my goodness.
But I looked it up. I was like, I don't know. Am I supposed to? I wrote one of my notes. Am I supposed to be able to tell the difference between all these white British actors? Can I get Idris Elba? Can Idris Elba be in this society?
Oh, he would have been so good.
Thank you.
I do love. He's next on our list, isn't he? Selma and Molly's Game is Idris Elba, right?
No, it's some other dude.
Oh, darn. Is it? We'll table that.
It's the guy from Succession.
But the guy from Succession?
I think so.
By the way, one of the guys from Succession also played Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice, and as did Colin Firth. Just in case you needed that 6 degrees of separation happening there.
I've not seen any Pride and Prejudice movies.
Well, that's going to go on our list.
Okay, it'll be themed. It'll be Pride and Prejudice and Little Women. Are those both by Jane Austen? No, Little Women's Louisa May Alcott.
Yeah. Okay, but...
Are those different? Jane Austen and Louisa May Alcott?
Yes.
See, this is the episode I'm not hosting, so I just get to screw around and bother you.
I don't do that during yours, but it's fine. It's fine.
That's true.
So, fun fact, Mark Hamill.
Yes. Luke Skywalker was in this. I noticed that.
At the beginning.
Early
Very
on.
fun, interesting scene. What did you think? Actually, there were like 2 cold opens to this movie.
Well, yeah, thanks for asking why I'd never seen this movie or what I was expecting going into it.
Sorry.
This movie was not on my radar. It came out. I didn't notice that was happening. It was out. You could have grilled me about anything. I would have not been able to tell you it was a movie that existed until you asked if I had seen it. I missed it entirely. I'm not sure if there was hype around it. I don't know how the opening weekend went. I don't know I mean, at the time, 2014, I was coaching football, a sport that I never played on an organized level, and got married and also a first-year teacher. So
Not
it was a
busy at
busy
all.
season for me. But I have never seen a Taron Egerton film, I don't think. Is that the kid that plays Peeta Mellark in the Hunger Games movies?
No.
They look similar. Their eyes are set.
Can you check that? They're very different ages, I think.
Who plays Peeta Mellark? What is that guy's name?
Oh gosh, I just lost it.
I don't remember.
He's the guy that plays in. Yes, that's
Josh
him.
something.
He was in.
I've not seen a lot of Colin Firth movies. Did I think for some reason that Colin Firth was a dancer? Is there a dancer with a similar name?
Not that I'm aware of.
I also sometimes get him confused with Colin Farrell. I recognize them differently. I don't think they look the same, but their names are similar.
Yeah,
but trippy. Colin Farrell is, I think, Irish.
Yes.
Okay. He's in the first Fantastic Beasts movie.
Okay, so I did totally goof our rundown here, so thanks for calling me out on that.
I forgive you.
Let's get the Hutcherson.
I've heard it both ways.
I think I have heard it both ways. Anyways, how old is he? I thought you were looking this up.
Well, he would have had to be in his early 20s when they started filming Hunger Games. It would have been like 2012. It can't be that different. Okay. You mean they don't just have a side-by-side? No one's Googling what's the difference in age between Josh Hutcherson and Taron Egerton? Who did you think was older? You thought that Peeta was going to be older.
No, I've thought that Taron Egerton was going to be older because I've seen him in more movies. I've seen him as a man in more movies. And Peeta, even though I haven't actually seen any of those movies, I've seen like the pictures and he still looks young.
Wait, you haven't seen any of the Hunger Game movies?
I have not.
I mean, I'm not saying they're like my favorite movies ever or anything, but you know, we could do what's his face who plays Haymitch?
Woody Harrelson.
We could do a Woody Harrelson month. I'm sure you've seen Woody Harrelson movies I haven't seen.
That's probably very true, actually.
Or what's his name? Lenny Kravitz is in the first Hunger Games movie.
Yeah.
First two, I think.
Well, let's not derail too far here, Rogge.
We could do Jennifer Lawrence movies. I've seen Silver Linings Playbook and Joy. I saw Joy in theaters. I'm a feminist.
I have not seen Joy.
Wow.
Okay, well, I'm writing it down in case we need Jennifer Lawrence options.
Month.
Yeah. Okay,
J-Law month.
I saw a preview for this movie and I knew I wanted to see it.
Okay.
I don't know if I saw it in the theater. Jared, do you know?
Jeremy doesn't remember.
It's very possible that I saw the preview in the theater and went, oh, I want to see that because I enjoy that. So I don't remember if I saw it in the theater or not, but I remember seeing the preview and going, that's a movie that's right up my alley.
What about it was right up your alley? What stuck out to you?
I can't even tell you. Probably
it is
the pace.
Fast-paced.
Because I love that, but I also love a good fight scene.
Well, the action scenes are fast-paced. I don't know if I would agree that the plot is fast-paced.
And it just seemed fun.
Yeah.
Like this whole idea that they're going into the tailor shop and they, press the button, they go down the elevator. And
it is fun to imagine that there is a world behind our world of secret, cool spy stuff happening.
I'm always a fan of that.
I get it.
Always a fan of that. Yeah. Okay. So you only watched this because of our podcast.
Yes.
This probably would not have been on your radar.
I already had a list of like 100 movies that I wanted to watch. This was not on it.
Not at all. Okay.
Not that I would purposely omit, not that this was on a list of movies I'm not going to watch. It just
wasn't on your radar.
It was not on my radar.
Yeah. So going into it, I do remember, and I must have erased it, but I'm a big fan of fun credits. So in this movie, there's an explosion. Wait, now I'm not sure if this is the right movie. There's
Are you thinking of Django Unchained? You already mentioned how much you like the Django Unchained credits.
The rocks come down. Well, now I can't remember if that's this movie or not. We'll just scratch that. I don't remember anything
about the credits to this movie.
We'll scratch that one.
I don't have any notes on the credits. My first note is they secured Falcon so quickly. That was like during the credits. They go into the Middle Eastern sort of ISIS hideout and they capture a dude and then Eggsy's dad jumps on the grenade.
Yes, which I was like, that's interesting, but okay. So that's cold open number 1.
Yeah.
And then number 2 is they're in the mountains and the guy Mark Hamill's kidnapped. This took me like more than one viewing to understand what was happening in the scene, right? Mark Hamill's kidnapped Professor What's-His-Face and
Professor Skywalker.
with the bad guys, if you will. And then a Kingsman comes up to the door, kills everybody, all the bad guys.
That's
and
the Kingsman
says,
I thought was Henry Cavill.
Oh, yeah, no. But I can't remember who he is, but it's definitely not
Arthur.
him.
Lancelot.
But I can't remember.
So I'm also not a big like Arthurian legends guy.
No,
so
really.
it's like, I don't know
was
their
a little
names.
trippy.
I mean, I know I've heard Arthur and Lancelot, Guinevere, Merlin. I'm running out of other ones though. Guinevere, there's no Guineveres. There's no girls in it. Women.
There was another one that they call her at the end, but I can't remember. Galahad, that was it.
He is Galahad.
Yes. So he comes in, kills the bad guys, says he's going to take the professor and save him. And then Gazelle, who, super fun name, also I really liked her character, comes in
I
and
forgot that was
kills
her name.
him.
That's Sword Legs Girl.
Yes.
Okay.
What?
There's a
Like-
lot of, this movie is like, we're going to make choices and we're not going to explain them and they're not going to come back
going with it.
in any specific way.
That's right. Yep. We're going with it. So that was really fun.
Aggressive world building.
And you get the villain right away.
Right.
Before the movie is even started,
Mhm.
you get Samuel L. Jackson right away. And I really think it's funny that she's putting sheets over all of the dead bodies. 'Cause he doesn't like to see dead bodies.
Right. At the time, I agreed that I thought that was fun because I was like, this is going to come back. It's Chekhov's gun. It's Chekhov's, upset, violent stomach. And then later, he just kills Colin Firth and he's fine.
He doesn't look at him when he kills him. He closes his eyes and
But it doesn't
turns
come
his
back
head.
in any sort of meaningful plot way.
That he killed him or that he's...
That he's squeamish around. I was like, oh, they're introducing that later Taron Egerton is going to win because he's going to leverage the fact that he's squeamish about the violence or something.
No,
things are just happening.
Yep. They're just they're making, like you
That's
said, they're
what most of
making
my notes
choices
are.
and they
Things
don't
are just
even care.
happening. This is just a movie. Monuments Men was a movie. It was just guys being dudes who love art. And Kingsman, Secret Service, Henry Cavill is strong choices being made and events occurring.
Yes.
Who's that guy? It's Merlin.
That's
I understand
Merlin.
that. I understand that his character's name is Merlin. Is it an actor I should recognize from something?
Mark Strong.
No.
That's it.
That's not a name.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a name. Compared to some of the names in this film,
he was in
that's a name.
Shazam.
Okay.
He's in
I've not seen
Tinker
Shazam.
Tailor Soldier. You haven't seen Shazam?
No, nor Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Shazam is farther up the list of movies that I would actively avoid seeing, if not for because you were telling me to see them on a podcast.
1917?
Because that dude, I've also not seen that. That dude is the problematic now, right?
Which one?
The star of Shazam.
Zachary Levi?
Yeah, I thought he was problematic now.
Not that I'm aware of. Can you play the opening credits? What are you doing here?
Yeah, we just started up in the middle of, this is terrible podcasting. First of all, that should be Florence Pugh. I thought it was Florence Pugh for most of the time. And then it wasn't Florence Pugh.
This is from 2014. When did she start starring in movies?
Starring? I wouldn't say she's starring. Her whole thing is that she has vertigo, and then that doesn't matter either. Other than she's a little slow to shoot the... Okay, I kind of remember there being
so I was right.
The rocks fall down, they pop up into be the letters.
Yes, and I always think that's fun.
That's really, we're in the weeds. We're in the weeds in the beginning of Kingman, Secret Service.
We are, but I do think that's fun, and I think it deserves a little nod there.
I'll tell you what, I've got two problems with this movie. The first one is that my suspension of disbelief is tested immediately in that they want me...
gazelle legs?
No, that's fine. I'm fine with that. They just want me to take a movie seriously, or the fact that the by far lead actor, his character's name is Eggsy, and I'm just supposed to be fine with that. I'm just supposed to be okay with that.
How many British nicknames are you familiar with?
How many British nicknames am I familiar with?
Yeah.
Harry Potter. I'm familiar with a lot of British nicknames.
Okay, go.
Don't do me like that. Don't put me on the spot like that.
I'm just saying, I don't know any British nicknames. So how do I not know that Eggsy isn't a perfectly normal?
Okay, we're going to get our fact-checking department on that to see if Eggsy is a common...
I don't know about common.
British derivation. Taron Egerton's childhood friend?
Eggsy's childhood friend. Who probably died in some tragic way. Okay, we should mention that this is based on comic books. I'm hearing from the Peanut Gallery.
This is based on comic books? That makes more sense. That's why the pacing is so weird. Okay. I wanted the girl to be Florence Pugh and I wanted him to be Tom Holland.
Okay.
You tell me this wouldn't have been better if that was Tom Holland, who's British already, I think. Would have been fine. Could just plugged in Tom Holland. I don't know when the first Spider-Man movie came out.
How old was Tom Holland?
We are off the rails. Off the rails.
Nope. Let's go with what we got. Okay.
These are my Monuments Men notes. I'll tell you that right now. So Luke Skywalker's in this. And then so you got us all the way to Sam Jackson and then I derailed us. So he is introduced. He is the villain. He has a lisp. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Kingsman: Secret Service.
Kingsman.
Sam Jackson has a lisp and I wrote that I am borderline not okay with it. What is this?
Yeah, I didn't like that either, but I accept it because I like the rest of the movie.
Yikes. He has a top hat on at one point and he's still doing the lisp. Also, the wheels are on the wrong side of the car. I know it's a British thing, but I'm just a little uncomfortable with it. I don't recognize any of these British actors. I do like the action scenes. I like the fight scenes. Those are my favorite parts.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I like the fight scenes too. I like how there's
things are a little exaggerated,
slow mode at the right moments.
If I knew more about movies, I could tell you that it was like for the Hong Kong, style. There's different styles of fight scenes where people take their inspiration and things like that. And I don't know enough about movies to tell you that, especially action movies or movies with fighting in them or kung fu movies or anything like that. But
I can say for sure that I've seen enough action movies and I've seen enough behind the scenes of action movies and I follow enough action stars on the different various social medias where
very specific. It
is because they show on the wires and with the green screen in like the same pane or like a separate pane, but same screen of the actual movie footage. So you can see all of the stuff that they have to do to make the movie turn out the way it is. And just the attention to detail and the time and the effort that it takes all of these people to do, I can appreciate. So when I see a good fight scene, as these are good fight scenes that I enjoy, I'm like, dang, that must have taken a lot of work and time and patience. So I agree.
No, that's true. It's definitely impressive from like a spectacle standpoint. I can absolutely see that. So there were at different points I was like, oh, this is what this movie's about, right? There was a point where I was like, this is about class struggle, right? Eggsy is from this lower class situation where his mom is getting, talk about domestic violence, right?
Yes.
Where his mom is getting beat to crap by like a local, super
local
white,
gangster.
super British gang
Yeah.
mob kind of deal. But then Eggsy getting into the spy training program is like along with all the rich kids from Cambridge and Oxford and stuff like that. And then, so I thought that's what it was about. And then maybe it was about that because of course it's the poor people that are going to get the evil SIM cards.
Yes.
And so if we're going to eliminate people from society, it might as well be them.
Buy into
or have their own underground bunkers or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked how, just to be particular, when Colin Firth takes him into the tailor shop and he's like Pretty Woman, and Eggsy's like, no, what are you talking about?
That is
what are you
good.
talking about? And he's like, oh, like Eliza Doolittle, and he's like, yeah.
So yeah, My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
That is good.
That was funny.
That is good. There's a dog.
There is a dog.
There's a thing where he gets a dog. It's not a bulldog. It's a pug. And I, like Taron Egerton, wanted it to be a better dog. I'm not a huge pug guy.
Yeah, I agree.
They're a little pathetic. I guess pitiful is probably the right word. They're a little needy.
I mean, I don't actually know pugs. I just like I don't like dogs with the smashed faces because they have the extra breathing problems and stuff like that. So
for sure.
I don't think it's a good
I prefer
choice.
my dog to be able to jump up on the couch without me having to pick it up and put it on the couch every time. That's my bar of neediness out of a dog. But did I nail the Nazi parallel? I knew immediately that they were going to give you this puppy and you were going to have to train it up. And then you were going to have to kill it. So I did get that. At the very end.
What do you mean Nazi parallel?
Well, that was a thing in the SS training, which is where they would make you kill. I mean, it's not a full parallel because They would just give you puppies. They like that was part of your training. Just like you have to just kill this puppy.
Yeah.
And so maybe for not, you have it for a couple of weeks or you get bonded to it or whatever.
Enough to have to, yeah.
And so it's a following orders thing. But then I thought that maybe he was going to get to the end and they were going to tell you to kill it and then refusing to follow that order was actually going to be a good thing. Cause it was like, you understand the following orders is important, but also that there are moral lines that cannot be crossed or like that sometimes you do need to think independently or something like that.
Yes. I will say the first time I watched that, I had no idea what was going to happen after that.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't kill the dog. Obviously, you don't kill the dog.
The answer is never kill the dog.
Yeah. What the heck?
If the answer is kill the dog, you're asking the wrong questions.
Yeah. I just, yeah.
And then I was annoyed when Colin Firth was like,
why
none of this was real. The there were blanks in the gun and the girl in the beginning didn't die for real and all this stuff.
Lou Snorkels?
Yeah, I remember Lou Snorkels. Mm-hmm. It was annoying. It was annoying that guy was so classist against Taron Egerton.
Yeah.
They were just going to let him, they were going to let him die or whatever. I didn't like that. He was a little too much of a jerk.
You're talking about Merlin.
No, I'm not talking about Merlin at all. I'm talking about
the other guy.
Tall cadet.
Yeah.
Who made it all the way to the end.
I don't remember his name, but he's a jerk.
He didn't have a meaningful name. He was a jerk.
What did you think about the parachute? I couldn't believe you gave me a
dog dying movie at one point. I was like, why? What is happening? You know me better than this.
What about the parachute scene?
I didn't think anyone was going to die in the parachute. Anyone that I cared about was going to die in the parachute scene. That's another time that I was like, these kids are supposed to all be smart and obviously they should hold hands and then all pull their ripcords, honestly, at the same time, probably. I don't understand why they're not doing this.
Well, I wonder if they do it all at the same time, though, it's going to pull them away from each other. They're not going to be able to hold on to each other as easily.
So I wonder if maybe the parachutes would bump into each other.
Yeah,
maybe
interact is what I meant.
They're going one by one, but they really couldn't keep their heads together about it.
Yeah.
Like they said, you need to have teamwork, but then all those boys were like, you're joking. I don't actually. Like, it really is just doing whatever I want. And I was very confused about them having to come in under the radar because none of them were doing that. A bunch of them just panicked and launched themselves and immediately pulled their rip.
I think one of them panicked.
Several of them came in over radar, I think. I could be wrong about that.
I'm going to disagree, but I'm not going to bet money on it.
Yeah. I liked that they all had parachutes and they just told them they didn't.
Yeah.
I did like that.
I agree. That was one of my favorite scenes. I did write down too, like, this is very reminiscent of Men in Black when Will Smith doesn't even know why he's there. He's like, all of the people are like riding. You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh, dang. Okay. So listeners.
There's a pug in Men in Black. Pug month.
There is a pug in Men in Black. Listeners will follow me when he goes in for his testing.
Screw the listeners, Jess. This is a 2-person conversation. Screw Jeremy. He's not even here. Your funny. References only can land with me.
I'm just saying.
So when he doesn't know, Will Smith doesn't know he's there. And that's like the parachutes. He knows he's there,
he doesn't know why he's there.
Okay.
And it's the same concept, like, Eggsy doesn't really know what he's doing
what he's
there.
getting himself into.
Yeah, he just knows that he's doing something. He's just kind of...
I was annoyed with Colin Firth about that because I am very sensitive. So this kind of movie, well, what I thought this movie was about, when I thought that it was about him having to overcome his lower socioeconomic status to best the snobby rich kids, that is a movie I can get behind that.
Yes.
Because, like, I grew up slightly underprivileged. Remember they were talking about this recently, like, were we lower middle class or upper lower class? I don't know. But, like, I always feel that kind of opposite of imposter syndrome of, like, I really shouldn't, like, I don't know all of the in-jokes. Like, there are unwritten social cues that I'm not understanding here. And it's because, you know, I didn't grow up, you know, getting this or that. I'm very prone to feeling that way. That could also be social anxiety or some kind of spectrum disorder that I have or something like that. So I very quickly empathized with him in that situation. And I was like, Colin Firth, you could have just told him a little bit about what was it. You were on your underground train ride. You could have been like, this is a secret society. You're going to go into a little academy situation. It's going to be a Hunger Games situation. That movie's been out by now. You'll have seen that. You read the books. The books had been a thing starting like 2010 or 11. So that'll be fine. And it's going to be a survival of the fittest. You got to work together. And it could have done something like that. Not just like literally throw him in, not knowing what was going on. So that annoyed me.
Yeah. I think from a training perspective, they're like, let's see if you've got, the grit to make it with little details. But at the same time, I agree. Like
all the other boys knew what was going on.
It did seem that way for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I didn't understand the pacing of the other part of the plot, the Samuel L. Jackson, Colin Firth investigation plot. It was very...
They had to put a lot into the movie.
There was no connection with that. Taron Egerton did a lot of training, which I appreciated, right? He earned that. How good he is at doing things, by the end, he earned that. But there was no connection. He wasn't at all connected to this SIM card plot situation, which took a long time. Except for the fact
that he was reading the news.
True.
When they were talking about it and was able to draw the connection.
Yes, he was connected enough to be intelligent enough to figure it out, and he knew who Samuel L. Jackson's Elon Musk character was, like just from a rich perspective. I
think was kind of Colin Firth's whole point in recruiting him is...
Just get some creaky noises into here. Can you hear that? A little bit of creaking. It's just some podcast ASMR for everybody.
I think sort of was Colin Firth's whole point in recruiting him is that sometimes you can look at things from a different perspective and it can be enhancing, complementary.
You don't want groupthink.
Right. Yeah. So I think that was his whole point. It was kind of weird though. It is kind of weird because it's so set apart from what Eggsy's experiencing because Colin Firth isn't actually involved in the training aspect either. So they are very, very parallel.
Yeah. There's no... he's doing this training that's helping Colin Firth do that thing specifically. Like there was none of that. There was also very, very little like espionage, like comportment training. Like this is how you act spyly or like get information out of people. It was all about like, how long can you hold your breath? It was the physical stuff, right? Get good at shooting.
Do you think that's because they assumed that all of the high class people already knew how to act socially?
Interesting. If they did, they were wrong. They were all so bad at that. When they went to the bar and they got the drug champagne, they were all terrible at that.
Agree.
So I don't know. I liked that Samuel L. Jackson tested out the evil SIM card in the Westboro Baptist Church.
I was going to ask you what you thought of that.
Because those people deserve to die. But that part's fine. So he just kept killing people. And I was definitely like, what is happening?
Yeah.
What's happening here?
Did you get... The thing that I think is funny about that scene is the queasiness because he's watching the video and he's like, I can't watch that. You get over here and watch it. And Gazelle, who I'm assuming is sort of like sidekick / friend, right?
/ lover.
Were you picking up lover vibes?
I don't think I think you could hire anyone. And if you're going to hire a young, attractive female assistant, I mean, I think in Samuel L. Jackson's position... Was she the most intelligent possible candidate he could have picked up?
I mean, she has swords on her legs.
Okay, no, she doesn't have swords on her legs. She just has 2 amputated legs. You can amputate some dude's legs. That's not a superpower. They're not made of adamantium. Reference. I assumed there was something romantic.
I mean...
If not romantic, then physical.
Okay, I didn't even pick up on that at all. I
don't know that I picked up on that, just logistically.
Okay, I'm just saying they're tight. They're not like master servant, which is not really what I mean.
She's a true believer in his cause.
She's not just an employee. That's what I mean.
She's an employee with benefits.
She's an employee that gets paid, but she's also the friend.
PTO. She's his personal assistant, but she's also like a tech genius.
Maybe tech genius. Anyways,
arguably mastermind.
I'm digressing so hard from the point that I wanted to make, which was that he's watching the scene. He's like, I can't watch this. You come watch it.
Right.
And they switch.
That was the next reference about the violence.
Yes. Yeah. And there's just this, they have a camaraderie in that scene, even though they're both horrible. There's a camaraderie there that I think is funny. Endearing, even though I don't like Samuel L. Jackson's character in this movie. And then he goes out. All of the people in the church are killed. A good portion of them by Colin Firth.
A lot of them.
Which
he's so good at killing.
There was so much happening in that fight scene.
It was kind of like a Marvel movie. Like there's clearly a bigger fight going around, but this is what the one Captain America, this is what he is doing as he like does his march. You can sort of see the other stuff in the periphery. It's what it reminded me of.
Which was super good fight scene. Also with the slow-mo and the knot and the music was great. And then he walks out of the church. What I think is interesting is how Eggsy is seeing this and Merlin is seeing it. They're not together.
I already don't remember how they got access to being able to see that.
So his glasses.
Okay.
Colin Firth's glasses had a camera in it. And Eggsy was in Colin Firth's home when the signal came through.
Watching on a laptop.
Watching it on the laptop.
Okay. So he and Merlin were seeing it from first person perspective.
Yes. Okay. In different places. And then Colin Firth gets shot and they're like, holy cow, what's happening here? But they get a little bit of info on like what's happening. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think about the big Michael Caine reveal?
Let me see. I'm trying to remember. If I took any notes about me having anticipated that. Oh, I wrote that I did know Michael Caine was in on it. That's exactly what I wrote.
What
so it
led
sounds
you
like
there?
Yeah, I mean he was really against bringing in someone from a lower socioeconomic background. He was really against Colin Firth doing that. He thought it was silly. You're supposed to bring in the Oxford guys. No, Oxbridge is the combination of Oxford and Cambridge. He thought you're supposed to do that. He was super dismissive of him when he didn't shoot the pug.
Very condescending.
Yeah. And then just once he came in the room, because it's like, shouldn't he have known what happened to Colin Firth? And so it would seem like, how can you be this high up and not have known about it to that point, maybe?
I mean, he did know about it.
Right. But not, and then, you're supposed to have done something to have taken steps to stop it or address it.
Yeah.
So it became unrealistic, I guess. And it might have just been Michael Caine's vibes. Like he just was never actually nice.
Yeah.
Whereas Merlin was tough, but he was fair. Kind of
he was endearing to the team.
To some extent.
Yeah.
Now, he wasn't trying that hard to endear himself, but he was like, okay, like he's a fair-minded guy.
Yes.
I think.
So how about this whole idea that he's going to save the world?
The Thanos situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, good idea, poor execution. Not even good idea, but good concept of like wanting to save the world, but maybe not the right way to go about it.
Have you seen Don't Look Up?
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like that, which is Leo, exactly, and Jennifer Lawrence. It's kind of like that in that he had this information and he had been trying to get it out there about the global warming, the climate issues, and overpopulation stuff. And because it implied that he had done some Greenpeace or like had a foundation and was trying to go about it the right ways. And then no one was listening to him. So that's why he had to go this route, is what he felt like. But the problem I have with that is that Leo and Jennifer Lawrence don't have any financial resources when they're trying to be like, hey, there's an asteroid coming towards Earth. Whereas this guy is like easily the richest guy in the world, right? He's like 100-time billionaire or something.
And he can't get his message out.
So it seems like there could have been a way that he could have done it, which I guess is fine because it's like, okay, he secretly actually wanted to do it this way. Like it seemed fun to him to actually do it this way.
Yeah.
Right. I guess. And when you're that rich and, he was very intelligent, right? He was like a Harvard or so-and-so that he, you think I'm the only one that's smart enough. Everyone else they all deserve to die because like they don't, I can handpick the next best people and then I'll have control over the formation of this new global society, that kind of thing. So I'm sure that appealed to him beyond just the strict Thanos level necessity. I think Thanos was more ideologically pure.
Yeah.
Even though in the comic books, Thanos actually wanted to kill all of those people to impress Death. He was in love with Death, like the Death Incarnate, which is like a female goddess type of entity or whatever. But he in the movies, he does that. And then he just goes to his garden. It's like, I'm good. I did the thing. Like I did what I needed to do. Whereas I think that there were some more ulterior motives for Samuel L. Jackson. Not that they're both not sociopaths, at least.
How about this idea that he convinced world leaders to go along with it? And if he couldn't convince them, right, he put them in the little jail cells. But
I don't understand why he put them in the jail cell instead of killing them. He clearly had no compunctions about killing people. He made the detonators in them, and there were people that died as part of this process all the time. So I don't totally get that. The world leaders, I think it's the same thing, is that they are, people are awful and they are they're very selfish, right? And I think many people that end up in a world leadership position have an inherent megalomania or narcissism where they're like, yeah, I'll survive it. I'm really the smart one. And I'm, people, it's me that need to repopulate the world and stuff like that. I think that they tend towards being coercible. It didn't strike me as unrealistic that he could coerce them into seeing his side of it.
Yeah.
Because they did the one in action where it was the princess of Sweden and then the prime minister. And the princess was like, this is freaking ridiculous. Like, you're insane. Absolutely not. The prime minister was like, well, no, actually, I'm into it, honestly. I think,
and then he's like off with her head and he's like, oh yeah, I buy it.
He was like, I'm a Republican, so it doesn't even matter. I'm good either way. And as that's happening, I don't think you as a viewer are like, what? No prime minister would ever do that.
Oh yeah, no.
And that's the world we're into, the world of Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, and, freaking Josh Hawley or whatever, all of these politicians, these demagogue politicians who are clearly just in it for personal gain. It's only going to be the most idealistic world leaders, which almost has to come from monarchy. Should we just go back to monarchies? You have to have absolute, it has to be people. It's like the Harry Potter quote of, it's a strange thing that those who are best suited to leadership are those who never seek it out, the mantle of leadership. That's not just Harry Potter. That's a lot of things. That's Frodo and whatever other classic protagonist.
It's a whole idea that many things have been built around or referenced to.
Yes, absolutely. It's the hero's journey type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to happen from people that have to campaign to get people to vote for them.
Yeah, because their loyalties are divided.
Yeah. Malala is not the president of Afghanistan, but she would be the best president, but she's never going to run for it. Not that I don't know if they have presidents.
So we got all that.
A lot of my notes are about the dog and about killing the dog and about it being a pug. I would have loved a golden retriever or even like some kind of terrier, like a smart, like wire-haired terrier.
Like a giant schnauzer.
Or a giant schnauzer would have been sick, or a regular size schnauzer. I think there's a corgi. There's a world where a corgi that can kind of crawl through vents or something can do, the smallness can be useful. But a pug is so not, there's no tactical usefulness. Why did they put pug on there?
Because that totally speaks to his class. Right? Is he going to know the different breeds of dogs?
Right. He thought it was going to be a bulldog.
Yeah, because it's a whole... breeding dogs is like breeding horses in different, right? It's different animals, but it's the same kind of like the rich people's thing, hobby or whatever. So he doesn't really know.
See, I don't know if that's true, though. We live in semi to fully rural Indiana where... there's all kinds of people, you see signs on the road about people breeding their, pit bull breeding is certainly not associated with the rich.
Show dogs?
Are pugs show dogs? Is that allowed? Are people out here showing a pug? Gross.
I'm sure there are pug show dogs, but my point is I know somebody, actually, this is only one data point, so I could be totally wrong, but I know somebody.
Anecdotal evidence.
I know somebody who has English labs, black labs.
English are the English cream golden retrievers, right? Is that what they're called?
No, it's definitely a black lab. And I'm pretty sure it's English because they're boxier.
I don't know enough about
I could be wrong on this. Anyways, they used to go to dog shows and run the whole circuit all over the country. It was a whole thing. She got her dog. They artificially inseminated the dog with a particular
bloodline.
Yes. And it was like a whole thing, like mapping out the bloodline, and they go through.
Are these the ones that you helped them when they had the puppies?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So like it's a whole thing, but it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
And you can go and look at all of the records, and you can have different tests done on the blood to make sure they're not going to have any of these diseases or any of these like faults, I guess, or whatever in the genetics. And it's like this whole thing. It's not the same as being like, hey, we both have doodles. Let's lock them in a room together and we'll get puppies. Like that's a very different line of thinking than this whole like eugenics. Breeding the dogs for a dog show to get the money and all the stuff. So my whole point is that's like something that's like a hobby, and Eggsy is going to have no clue about pets because he's just trying to keep his family alive in the first place. He doesn't have time for pets or money for pets. He's not watching the dog show every Thanksgiving, the Westminster.
Yeah, it's the Westminster.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm saying like he would have no idea, which is just another way to show his what? It's just another way to show his
the class difference.
We just found out that
Pug won the whole thing.
Best in breed in 22.
Is that the same as best in show? Do they not call it best in show anymore? It doesn't matter. I don't care that much.
Best in breed is like he represents all, or he or she represents all of the markers of their breed.
Okay, well, then a pug wins the pug breed every year.
No, but not necessarily.
Okay, I don't know what we're talking about anymore. We're getting off the rails. Samuel L. Jackson has a lisp in this movie, and he's wearing a pink hat a bunch of the time. So I was confused by what's his face? The guy that's beating up on Taron Egerton's mom. He's just keeps beating up on his mom, and Taron Egerton never really does anything to stop it until the very, very end. It seemed like he could have come in a little sooner. Like that would have been the first thing he went and did. He did try to go over there and kill him, but then Colin Firth drove the car back to his house remotely or whatever. That was kind of neat. So then there's a big fight scene, and he kills 1,000 dudes at the bunker who are all wearing their white suits and stuff.
Where surprise, surprise, grumpy recruit who gave up the Kingsman shows up at the bunker because he paid his way in.
Right. Yes, of course. Yeah, that was fine. That was true. Of course, he would be able to do that. At that point, Taron Egerton was a little more Bucky the Winter Soldier than he was James Bond spy. He was just murdering hundreds of dudes. He was just taking out the whole complex. Yeah,
because he had to get to
Samuel Jackson to get his hand off the thing. Yeah. I want every movie, we talk about this all the time, I want every movie to be more Ocean's 11. And so I wanted him to heist his way in there a little more. Okay, I buy that. For some reason. Fun fact. I didn't care about the girl in the sky. Okay, and she only bought them 5 minutes. She bought them 5 minutes. Yes, for sure. She only bought them 5 minutes. Best. She would have been better in there helping him. Well, they had to... Oh, they called him Michael Caine because they pretended that he was Michael Caine, but they didn't even check to see his scar or anything. He got in there because he had Michael Caine's. Yeah. He was like, yes, hello, I am Michael Caine. Yeah. And that's why he had the ID or the phone, and everything. The invitation, I think it was. Yeah, no doubt. So she wouldn't have been able to get in anyways, but I want to point out. The vent. They don't have vents in their mountain. Didn't they have lodge? Heat signatures though on the plane? I don't know, probably. Okay. I want to point out that in the parachute scene, Galahad, which is the girl, pretty sure, she is panicking about jumping out of the plane. The parachute scene, yes. She's panicking. She's like not sure she wants to do this. And he's the only one that cares about doing a good job of talking her into it. Yes, which is great. That's cute. But then at the end of the movie, she has to go up in that air balloon thing and shoot the satellite or whatever it is. Yeah. So I did actually note that. And the parallel that it was, which is fun. A little side thing that you wouldn't even pay attention to, but it was there. Yeah. Well, I definitely noticed that. I thought her vertigo was going to be more relevant when she got up there. But it was just that she went a little too high, and so she only had the one balloon left. She was bad at locking on. She should have shot it a little sooner or whatever. I did definitely feel during all the training stuff that they were underselling. They kept saying teamwork is one of the most important things, and then they never actually.
They don't just let everyone jump out the plane in the movie at all.
Yeah, except Colin Firth is the only one that cares about it because he cared about Eggsy's dad, and comes back and like follows up and talks to the wife, and cared about all that stuff.
Fun fact: if you so choose to watch the second film, because there is a second film, there is more teamwork.
Oh, we're going to have sequels month. We're going to have sequel month.
I don't love the sequel as much.
Django 2 Chained.
It is pretty fun. And there's a prequel.
Threequel?
No, it's pre.
With Ralph Fiennes.
Yes.
Okay. Ralph Fiennes. We can watch the menu.
Man. I've already seen the menu.
But the first one is the Kingsman. I've heard it both ways. I've heard it both ways. Singular Kingman.
That's because you've heard both movies.
Kingman. The Kingman.
Okay, so in the end, they foil the plan. Which is to get all of the poor people in the world to get these free SIM cards for free internet. They're not that stupid. It's obvious that there's a ploy. Rich people don't give away things like that for free. That's how they got rich. As a general rule of thumb. See, don't you think that there's this conflicting, if you don't ever take a risk, you don't ever get the reward that comes with the risk. So you're like, okay, this is free. It's probably too good to be true. But at some point, not everything is too good to be true.
You're not exactly, if it's for everyone in the whole world, just come and get one, then you're not taking a risk by doing what everyone else is doing. The risk is to not do it, right? I don't have TikTok. Everyone else is doing it. And so it's the other people that are like stepping out on a limb, I feel like. I mean, it's one thing for Bill Gates to give away a bunch of malaria nets. Like that's something that is clearly would only happen because of a charitable endeavor versus.
Unless they're really like some kind of crazy net where you touch it and you get electrocuted and you die.
Yeah, but that didn't happen.
But I'm just saying, like,
he's funds real malaria research. I understand. I'm not saying that, and this is a straw man because you weren't saying that I was saying it, but I'm not saying that billionaires don't actually put money in towards good and real charitable causes. Sometimes, not very often, but sometimes. At Elon Musk, it wouldn't cost that much money to fix the water system in Flint. It would be like way less than $1 billion. It doesn't matter. Which is still going on. We don't hear about that anymore, but there's probably still lead in the water in Flint, Michigan. I'm assuming. I haven't heard that there's not. They do sometimes give away money to good causes, but not for something like free internet forever for the rest of your life. Like that's how they make the money is on the free internet. They don't give away they don't just make a service no longer profitable.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems suspicious. A cat just jumped up behind you. Thought it was a raccoon. Twasn't. Twas
She's
a
like,
cat.
what are you guys doing in there?
'Twas a cat, not a pug. That pug could not have jumped up that high. I tell you that right now.
Notice none of them had dogs or cats. I mean, none of them had cats.
Right, because you want something that could actually be useful to you and you could bond with.
Agree. Okay, so
there was no romantic. I thought there was going to be a romance with the girl that wasn't Florence Pugh and the boy that wasn't Tom Holland, but they never kissed or anything.
I'm good with that.
It was good that it was platonic.
I mean, I'm good with them being friends. We had so many other things going on. I didn't need Eggsy to have.
There was a lot going on.
A romantic connection.
There was a lot going on.
Okay. The Kingsman.
The
Secret Service. Would you watch it again?
It's : the Secret Service?
Yeah, it's actually Kingsman : the Secret Service.
Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. : Taron Egerton. : Josh Hutcherson. I enjoyed my time watching it.
Hutcherson.
I've heard it both ways. I've enjoyed my time. I enjoyed my time watching it. I liked the action scenes. I didn't have to think that hard while watching it, I think, other than trying to figure out what this movie was about. There were definitely times, to me, it dragged more than Django.
Is this your Fantastic Mr. Fox? What is happening in this movie?
Is this one of your 5 favorite films? You think it's great?
No.
You think it's excellent?
No, but I mean, were you walking away with the same, like, what is happening?
It has more of a plot than Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like, okay, there's the Samuel L. Jackson thing is happening, but it's not connected to this other Taron Egerton stuff that's happening. And their fashion is just so bad. Like the hats that he wears and stuff are just really ugly, but that's British fashion. That's not his fault. And it was like,
British listeners.
The way the plot is going here, I didn't understand totally. I don't know that I am interested in rewatching it. I wouldn't say that I loved it, but I am not mad that I watched it.
Would you
I
watch it
enjoyed
again?
watching it. I don't think so.
Not by choice.
New podcast idea. I force you to rewatch movies you said you didn't like very much.
I mean, if you're with a bunch of people and that's the only movie everybody wants to watch, are you going to go ahead and sit down and watch it?
In those kinds of situations, the groups that I am in don't even try to just be like, this is what we're going to do. We're all going to put on a movie. Rogge is there. So like, obviously what we're doing is we're playing board games or video games of some kind. Like we're playing a game. We're playing hide and seek. I like it. I like an adult hide and seek, not like adult, connotation, but just like adults that are playing hide and seek.
Okay.
So that doesn't really happen to me. I don't see myself watching this again.
Okay.
No.
Will you seek out the sequel? Yeah.
I won't seek it out, but I think I would watch it. I would be like, I would enjoy watching it a second. I would enjoy watching the sequel if that's what we were going to do for sequel month or for Mark Strong month or month of, what if we have a whole month that is girls that look like, but are not Florence Pugh?
Let's stick with Selma and Molly's Game.
Okay.
Let's not go too far ahead.
How much do you like this movie? You love it. I
don't love it, but we own it. So we liked it enough to buy it.
That is a low bar for you guys.
That's probably true.
It's not that high of a bar. Was as good as you remembered.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, okay. I knew what it was going into it.
The very first time.
Like watching the preview, I knew what kind of movie I was going to be getting.
Yeah.
And I knew I would like it. So I was okay with it. There are a few things watching it, looking back, I'm like, oh, probably wouldn't have made that choice.
Right.
Probably wouldn't have made that choice. Then I could have done without a couple of those things. But overall, I didn't hate it.
At one point,
I didn't hate it enough. Those things that I didn't like, I didn't hate enough to not watch the movie again.
Colin Firth went into a coma, and then there were 2 montage training scenes, and then he was out of the coma. I was like, what are we doing?
Hold on a second.
There's just a lot happening.
He didn't go into a coma.
He did go into a coma. He went to Luke Skywalker. He tracked him down. He talked to him. And then they blew up Luke Skywalker because he was going to give away the game. Yeah. And then he went into a coma. And then Terry Egerton was like, oh no, he's in a coma. Is he going to be okay? And they were like, I hope so. And then in real time, like 6 minutes later, it was like, okay, he woke up from his coma. Everything's okay. And I was like, what are we doing?
What were the training activities during that time?
I don't know.
It really wasn't
probably
6 minutes later.
Probably them in a ghillie suit. 6 minutes later of my time.
Yeah.
Not 6 minutes of Taron Egerton's time.
It could have been like 2 days.
It was mostly them being like eggy and throwing water on him. They were just dicks.
Yeah.
Like, the recruiting process, there's none of the checkboxes were like, isn't just a huge dick to everyone.
Yeah.
Like they were like, no, this is fine. No, I'm okay with him being this way.
What criteria were they recruiting people on?
Because he's rich.
Yeah.
I'm sure he got good test scores or whatever, but there has to be a charisma portion of it because he would go into anything other than like, the opera or whatever. Like if he has to be a field operative and everyone's gonna be like, oh, you're like the worst. It's manners maketh man, right? Isn't that like the whole deal?
Yeah. So speaking of that, how did you like at the end when he finally does beat up the guy?
That was sweet. I liked that because he liked Colin Firth so much. And he was like, I'm going to do what he did. So that was good.
I thought it was a good, and
he swooped the umbrella, swooped the cup back to his face, which was a cool move. Yeah.
I like that.
It was good.
All right. So not watching it again, but it wasn't a waste of your time.
It was, I enjoyed it as much as I expected, which was sitting down to a movie being like, I don't pick out these kinds of movies to watch myself. And I was right. And,
I actually
kind of
love that because we're both getting very different styles of movies.
Yeah, maybe we'll watch another international thriller trailer
Action
comedy. And I'll be like, you know what? Actually, I preferred freaking Kingsman, Taron Egerton. Like it'll now be a bar that I wouldn't normally like. What else? What have I compared this to? I would compare it to like Kill Bill, and I compared it to Ocean's 11 at one point.
Well, let's see.
What are other action-y fight movies that I
sometimes
watch?
They have like other movies like this, more like this.
Okay.
Now You See Me.
I did see that in a drive-in movie theater situation.
Baby Driver.
Not seen. I'm interested though. That's Ansel Elgort. Or is that Ryan Gosling? Or is he Driver?
It's Ryan Gosling.
One of them's just Driver. That's confusing.
Oh wait, no, it's not. It's the other one. Yeah.
Just.
Says the guy who doesn't know Henry Cavill's not.
I
in
didn't say. I
Kingsman.
didn't. Okay, I did have to look up to see if that first guy that got killed when he was trying to drink the fancy whiskey, if he was Henry Cavill.
None of these movies look like the same kind of movie. But okay. By the way, that's Jack Davenport.
No, I don't agree with that.
No. He's the guy that gets killed in the beginning. And he was in Pirates of the Caribbean as Norrington.
Okay. Yeah,
so
he
maybe
looks
that's
just
why
like Henry
he
Cavill to me.
looks familiar to you.
I'm racist against British people. I think they'll look the same, apparently. Unless they're Dan Radcliffe. He looks super different from those guys.